have had a great outpouring of love and for the tragic loss of an Akron police officer that happened after our last meeting. And before we moved on with our meeting, I wanted to take a moment as a board and as a district to further recognize that. We did lower our flags, of course, in conjunction with the city and our partners. But I wanted to do that. We also have suffered a few other losses that I'll mention at this time. Also, Mrs. Sorrells, who was a teacher at North High School, passed, and Mr. Alexander actually had a family member that we lost. So if you all don't mind being in a moment of silence for those who we've lost. Thank you. Moving on to a much happier note, we have a lovely young man here who I just got to meet, and his name is Dorian Keys, and he is from Cyberlink Community Learning Center. This is the best sentence ever. I love this. Dorian Keys is an outstanding lifelong student at Cyberlink CLC in his long life that he's lived so far. He is currently in the 6th grade, very mature for his age. He is well respected by staff and students and is always a great role model for others. Every grading period of every year, Dorian has achieved honor roll status. Nice. Ms. Halassa will like this part. His favorite subject is science because he loves to experiment and explore for answers. In his spare time, Dorian enjoys playing basketball at the YMCA and wrestling at Firestone. He is a student of fabulous character, and Cyberlink CLC is so proud of all that he's accomplished. Welcome, Dorian.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
All right, now I'm going to have you introduce those folks that you brought with you today.
Okay, I have my mom, Kelly, and my dad, Vicky, and also my principal, Miss Nancy.
I hope you continue your lifelong learning with Akron Public Schools, and thanks so much for coming today. Good job.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mansfield, his dad is a graduate from Akron Public Schools, North High School.
Oh, nice.
So we had to make sure we mentioned that.
Vikings all the way. Good job. Well, we already discussed the fact that if you guys want to sneak out now, you can, or if you want to stick around for a little while and watch some of the recognition. I know Dorian probably has homework or basketball to get to, so you don't want to keep doing that. So thank you so much for bringing us. Did he graduate with you, Mr. Alexander?
No, a couple years behind me.
Okay.
We grew up together.
Oh, nice. Very good. All right. Any community or school reflections from the last 2
Just
weeks?
quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
Was over at Firestone Park Elementary with Principal Moff a couple weekends, or the weekend before last, for the crafts with Dad. It was wonderful. It was more than just dads and uncles and aunts. There were some grandmas and moms and aunties there too. But it was really exciting to see. You could actually see future architects there because they were so excited about putting together some wood. I think it was one was a jet ski, and the other one was a wooden car. The supplies came from Home Depot, I believe. It was very, very nice, and they did a very good job. I was over at Mickey Bright with Desiree Bolden to the after-school program, and got an opportunity to meet the principal, Lucas, there. It was just really amazing to see kids in their own environment. It's just a wonderful program that, although they had been to school all day, they were still very excited, even at the close of the day, about learning. And so they're in competition about reading and comprehension, mathematics, math, science, learning, even some extra kind of curricular activities like tennis and dance. Just a wonderful after-school program. We also, I myself, along with the superintendent, Bruce Alexander, and Dave Lombardi, I had the opportunity to attend the Thankful Breakfast at Case. Just a wonderful program put on by the youngsters there. Just teaching them leadership. I think that was so in line with what we see as a part of the IB program. The youngsters not only put together a program with the help of their principal, Sharon Hill-Jones, but they did all the follow-up. They followed up to make sure we were coming. They ushered us to our seat there. They performed for us. It was just a wonderful program. Even made more so that the type of partnerships that were going on in the community, not only with the parents, but some of our local public officials just partnering, and that's equally excited about the future of a potential IB program there at Case Elementary. So it's just a good day.
That sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I'd like to also chime in on a couple things. First of all, since Veronica just spoke about the Case IB program, Thankful Breakfast, I was there as well and enjoyed that. Just wanted to shout out, I believe Jennifer Victor, who's a teacher there, who's in the neighborhood, is heading that up. And with the help of the principal and assistant principals, they're doing a great job trying to take the IB down to at the grade school level so the kids have a jump on it once they hit high school. So shout out to her. She's also a second generation teacher, and I'm not sure whether her mom taught there or not, but I don't know, it's always good to see things like that where you have multi-generations of teachers and they're well respected and well liked, and the parent involvement and the grandparents, and it's just that was kind of where my kids first went. I kind of have a special place in my heart for that school, so I really enjoyed that. A couple other things. One real quick, a little bit of a discussion or gripe, if you will, about policy regarding school construction and traffic in the morning. I had the pleasure of being in a full half hour of gridlock stopped traffic at Firestone High School about 3 weeks ago from a semi-truck that had tried to deliver cinder blocks at, I think it was right on 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's when everyone's trying to get to school. I assumed there was a policy in place. I followed up with Paul Flesher, who confirmed that the contractors are advised, obviously, not to deliver stuff right at that rush time in the morning or in the afternoon when the kids are let out, because you can't get anything done anyway, because there's too much traffic with people trying to drop people off. So that policy is in place. If you see something like that, if you would let us know so that we can address that with whoever the construction superintendent or manager is, so that we can make sure they're following those policies. I'm sure things slip through the crack, but I'm not a patient driver to begin with, and that had steam coming out my ears. Finally, I did get a chance to go to the Capitol Conference with these good people on our board, and it was my first time. It was eye-opening because there was so much going on at the same time. But I had the pleasure of attending a number of very good programs. One was When to Discipline and How. There was also a program on a mock IEP, or individual education plan meeting for students that have educational challenges. Also went to a program that was more geared towards school law and updates on that for Family Medical Leave Act, as well as transportation-oriented issues. Just learned a great deal and enjoyed that, and I'm thinking that as far as on this board I can contribute in that realm because that's what my background is. I found an interesting statistic on the school transportation. People think that buses aren't safe, but the stats they have across the whole state is that there's been like one fatality in like 5 years or something like that. And the amount of transportations per kid per day is amazing. That's a very, very safe statistic. So that's also something just to assure the parents that are out there that the record of school bus transportation is very, very good. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much. We don't have any requests to address the board, but we do have several communications and recognitions, as are seen by all the lovely faces that we have in our audience today. Did Firestone soccer folks get here? No, I didn't think they did. Okay, I didn't see them come. We do have the volleyball team. We will make sure that they get their certificate to recognize their win in the city series for soccer, the male soccer team. But we do have the volleyball team here because I got to talk to some of them. If their coaches would please come up. So, they're perfect in the city record. Thank you. I have this for you. Can you introduce the girls that you brought with you and have them come up?
Okay, I would like to start with two of my freshman players who played varsity for us this year. Miss Hannah Fortune played in the setting position, and Miss Kennedy Majors played outside hitting and middle blocking. And then 3 seniors I have with me. Miss Julia Bowden was our libero. Miss Dara Perry, our defensive specialist. And Miss Janelle Perry, our outside hitter.
Tell us a little bit about the shirts they're wearing too. Was that for the next level, or is that for just that's their city shirts?
That's their city shirts for this season. Our theme this year was, it's not the size of the falcon in the fight, but the size of the fight in the falcon. Because we were a small team physically, but we learned how to play big together on and off the court. I'm very proud of these young ladies. They excel in the classroom as well as in the gym. So very proud and grateful that I've had the opportunity to serve the students at Firestone and Akron Public Schools in this capacity. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I've been coaching with Firestone for 14 seasons now.
Oh, wow.
No. I'm in the back. I'm not important.
Ready?
I'm
1,
just proving
2,
we're here.
3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Just to prove where you were and you were here. Thank you so much.
So what does it take to be a freshman and play varsity?
What does it take? It takes a positive outlook. It takes a matter of skill where you're set above the rest right from the jump. You've shown me the potential that you can develop and handle the pressure of being on the varsity court. Also the pressure of being able to play with upperclassmen and still grow and develop. So that's what it takes to be on the varsity court as a freshman.
How many make a team?
During the match,
Right.
there are 6 on the court
Okay,
at
so
a
there's
time.
one person missing, right? For your starting team?
Yes, I was told to bring 5.
Okay.
But Miss Janelle Perry will continue her volleyball career playing at Ursuline next year.
Hey, Lisa.
I know.
Can I say something
Sure.
about Firestone Soccer?
Absolutely.
I was really looking forward to seeing the men's or the boys Firestone varsity team here. They were the City Series champions, and I have a son that plays on the team. And they really were kind of stacked in the middle. They didn't have a lot of upperclassmen. They graduated a lot of stars last year. But they had a very good season, and they had a huge upset over Wadsworth in one of their first state playoff game. The next game they played was against Medina, and it was a repeat of the year before where it was monsoon winds and rain, and it was just a mud pit, and they didn't fare too well. But they had a really good season, and it's a shout out to them. I was hoping they'd be here, but I want to toot their horn because I followed them all year. Here's to Firestone men's soccer.
That is your privilege as a parent, of course, and a board member. So good. Well, we will make sure they get their certificate. Their principal is here, so we'll make sure that it gets to them. Our next recognition is kind of interesting. We have Katrina here. Katrina, I just looked at how many people are on that actual list. We could be here all night, but can we just let everyone know that it will be in the board record for with all the names, but we're going to let you recognize everybody who did get here, if that's okay. You want to come up here?
Sure.
Tell them what you're giving excellence. You could be wherever you want.
I like this because it makes me feel, at least it's, good evening. My name is Dr. Katrina Halasso. This is my 9th year of being the Science and Health Learning Specialist for Akron Public Schools. I want to thank President Lisa Mansfield, Superintendent Mr. James, Mr. David James, and distinguished board members and senior staff for allowing us to have this moment. In the 9 years that I've been working as an Akron Public School Science and Health Learning Specialist, we have actually, since probably 1999, have been eligible for a possibility of getting the Distinguished Governor's Thomas Edwards Award for Excellence in STEM Education. In order to make that criteria, you had to accomplish 3 things. One, you had to go to a local fair, and thank God for Akron Public Schools, we have a wonderful district fair that allows many people to participate. We have increased it to almost 600 participants over the years in different formats. We also, you have to be able, from that event, go to the University of Akron for the Western District 5, and you have to qualify either being a superior to be able to move on to that level. And the third criteria is that you have to be able to do something beyond the classroom. And the individuals that you see in front of me, each and every one of them has participated, plus their members, which I will just briefly give numbers at this point, has either sent their students to like a PBL or participated in a bridge competition or got involved in other competitions throughout the area. They took advantage of the community in doing different science or even math activities that are STEM related. They may have been involved in engineering for women. So there are plenty of things. If you take the time to go to the Akron Public School website and go from the homepage to the department and look up science and take a look on the science webpage, you can actually look at the history of how many of these wonderful faculty and staff members that have participated in this particular award and had been eligible and actually earned it. So what I would like to do is recognize the people that are here and give you just a number of individuals from their staff that was actually included. So for Buchtel CLC, which is the principal is Ms. Sonia Gordon, but representing them today is Ms. Norma James. There were 30 staff members that were recognized at their school. From early college, the principal is Marilyn Bennett, and she brought along with her Lisa Andrews, who represents 4 people at their school. At ECLC, we have Felicia Gould, who's the principal, and she brought Jonah O'Neill, who represents 16 members of their school. The principal at Firestone High School is Kenya Harrington, and he represents 10 members of his school. We don't have a representative today for hire, but for the principal, Lou Renton, he did contact me and he apologized, but they have 22 staff members that were recognized. Tracy Lambden, who's representing Litchfield as a unit principal, they had a total of 22 staff members that were being recognized. Miller South, we have the principal, Dawn Wilson, here with Tina Latimer, and they're representing 14 of their staff members. Again, the principal, Mr. Larry Johnson, sent his regards that he was sorry he couldn't make it today. They had another conflict. But for the NIF STEM school, they had 16 of their staff members. Same for Anthony Lane for Roswell Kent, but there were 16, again, staff members that were recognized for their school. And on occasion, sometimes we have the delight of having our actual elementary schools being recognized. Now, in the past, there were a couple of, but this year, due to Tracy Martin, who really ringed it in and brought it through, and her principal with her is Megan Mannion. Actually, she's at Mickey Bright this year, but she went back to Cyberlink to help again because she really fell in love with the process and wanted to make sure that students had that continuous support. They are representing Cyberlink CLC. Now, besides being recognized today, you might ask yourself, what else do these wonderful individuals get? Usually, all they receive is a certificate from the Academy of Ohio of Science, but this year they decided to give them not only a certificate, but a membership to the Ohio Academy of Science. So each individual staff member had that already sent to their individual schools. I wanted to make sure that we were highlighting them this year because every year I feel that they work so hard. They put this amazing report together. It does actually get a blind review, so it's not that you just turn in all your material and you automatically get it. They actually have a criteria and a rubric that they go through. So this is very wonderful for Akron Public Schools. Like I said, in the past, we may have had 1 or 2 schools, but over the last 9 years, we've varied from 11 to maybe 15 schools being recognized, and we're hoping this year to even see more because from Akron After School, we were able to provide more opportunities for elementary students to get involved in the science fair for 5th and 6th grade. So again, it is a pleasure to work for you guys, and I appreciate all your support, and I appreciate all your hard work.
Dr. Thomas, I think there's one school that you might overlook. First Justice is here.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, that's really bad. STEM middle school? I'm sorry, Chris. Please stand up. Amanda Morgan. I apologize with my heart. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh,
On the scoring, the scoring was, the top you could get was 10,
10.
and the majority of our schools got 9s and 10s.
They got 9s and 8s and within that area. Yeah. We actually sent more applications out, but again, the criteria is that you have to go to the University of Akron. So even though every one of our schools are pretty much represented middle and high to the actual science fair, you have to be able to move to that next step in order to reach that criteria and be recognized in that. So.
thank you for all of your hard work and for everyone that's represented here and all the We're looking forward to that cold, usually February.
Yes, it's actually January 25th.
Where we will trek to see the science fair and with great joy. So we're looking forward to that. We have one last presentation from Mr. Davis from the city of Akron, another North High grad, just shouting that out. And Andy is going to talk to us about the safe routes to school.
Yes.
Please do.
My name is Andy Davis. I'm with the City of Akron Traffic Engineering Division. I'm also the Akron Public Schools Safe Routes to School Coordinator. A year ago, we began a process with the Ohio Department of Transportation, the City of Akron, Akron Public Schools, Akron Metropolitan Area Transportation Study, to really take a close look at children and their ability to walk or bike to school. This program that the federal government, the state government's proposing is one that helps encourage and enable kids to do that. But in order to do that, we have to understand what's going on in each of our schools and communities. We have spent time completing a needs assessment. That's what this awesome binder is. It's the results of surveys to all the K through 8 principals, travel tallies where we went to the classrooms and figured out how our kids getting to school in a couple days in November. It's actually time spent. I went and visited 38 of the principals at the different K through 8 schools and interviewed them, tried to find out what are the specific needs at each of the schools. It was transformative for myself and also for a team that we had that was working on this. The team was made up, Deborah Falk was with the Akron Public Schools. We had representatives from Akron Police Department, Children's Hospital, Summit County Health Department, Safe Routes to School National Partnership, AMATS, the Ohio Department of Transportation. We had different visitors come in from time to time from different concerned groups to see what was going on. This process led us to come up with identifying what was needed in 2 areas. The first was just simple infrastructure, signing, striping, traffic, roadway, sidewalk that's missing, concerns of that sort. And from our plan, we're going to be able to now in January apply to the Ohio Department of Transportation for funding to remedy some of those concerns. It'll include probably some new innovations such as road diets, where we narrow down some of the roadways to calm the traffic down, provide more of a buffer for pedestrians. It might include some new pedestrian crossing enhancements. Might include working in the arrival and dismissal. That would tend to be a key time for all of the schools, particularly to lower sometimes the tempers that can happen at that point when kids are coming and going. But another end of it is programming, where we will also be able to apply for funds to do programming, and that can include such things as sponsoring walking school buses, which we actually started piloting at Findlay last spring. We didn't wait. We wanted to start seeing, how can we help improve the conditions and address parents' concerns. And one of their main concerns is their child's safety when they're not with them. Adult supervision is probably the number one concern. Why I wouldn't let my kid walk to school? The fact is, only 14 to 17% of the kids do walk. And out of that, I'm sure, there's a high percentage that have to walk. They don't have a choice. So we want to address the physical concerns. We want to address the kinds of concerns that might be in the neighborhoods that make it possible. So what we've got tonight is a plan that addresses the needs. We're asking the council, the board's endorsement, along with I was just at City Council earlier, and I also stopped in and for the mayor. So we're asking for the endorsement of this plan. This enables us to go forward with the Ohio Department of Transportation in order to apply for more money. It also lets us apply for money in other locations. For example, I just filled in a grant application with Carla to help maybe fund some of the family liaisons to help be the grassroots go-between with us and the community. That's another aspect of this that came out in our study, is like you can't just drop something in, but really every school is different. Every school has different resources. You really have to listen to the parents and work with the parents and the community groups. The effort that we'll be making in the coming year will be a community engagement, be it addressing snow, be it addressing getting volunteers to help with walking school buses. So that's another part of that, that this plan enables us to do. We're at a milestone. We've finished a year. We've got basically a needs assessment done. We've started doing a few pilot projects, but really now it's the implementation phase where it's exciting. We get to try to do these things, and now with your endorsement, we'll be able to move forward with that. And just in conclusion, with the Safe Routes to School, you may be familiar with it, you may not, but the ability to walk to school is pretty fundamental. It means something about our communities and our neighborhoods. It means something about our sense of security, about our sense of place. So to me, this is more than just, a health initiative. It is a health initiative. We do need the activity. It's more than just a safety initiative with making sure kids can cross the street and know how to do that. Yes, that is very important, but it's also about our own well-being in our communities. So with that said, if there's any questions.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
How did the pilot go with Finley? And were there any concerns the parents had, and as well as far as walking to school?
We piloted the walking school bus. We did 2 routes to the school. We didn't do the whole, perimeter. The people that staffed it, we were working with the principal there, and she was one of the people, as well as a couple of other staff. In that location, she wanted to try it out first with her staff. The kids seemed to enjoy it, that participated in that. We got good feedback on that. A walking school bus is a pretty interesting concept. It's not something that I was familiar with when I started, but I'm finding it's been used throughout the country and actually throughout the world, again, to address the issues of adult supervision. It also provides hands-on training for kids, to do 3 things. 1, be visible, make sure you're able to be seen. Be predictable, cross the crossings, don't dart out in the middle of the street. Actually, most of our accidents are kids darting or crossing in the wrong places, and then obeying all traffic laws. If you could remember those 3 things, visible, predictable, and obey all traffic laws, we've gone a long way. And if I can get that to the kids, the thing is that not many of them may have that. And then again, there's a lot of concerns, rightly so, on the parents, about letting their kid go out on that travel to school. But again, we used to do it, at least I think it was a lot more when I was a kid walking to school. I walked to school, I biked to school. And today, and our number at about 14 to 17% isn't really far off from the national. Nationally, it's like only 13% of kids actually walk to school, which is kind of phenomenal if you think about it.
There was positive feedback. Was there anything negative that maybe city and the school needs to work on to make it safer?
I'm trying to think. Not just the walking school bus, but I would say, again, the main concern was other adults, so ensuring that parents are confident that when their kid walks to school that they're not going to run into problems is one. Another one might be just handling some of the traffic issues at arrival and dismissal. I know one of the things we did this year was when King opened up, we were out there trying to refigure how to get the traffic to go better. Out on our observations, we did see some good things, at some of the schools we're doing, in terms of like helping guide the parents and doing traffic management. And I even saw one hired officer that was actually making some lane changes out on the road, which, we want to help them be able to do those kind of things in a good way in order to make it flow better. Another idea, just to go on with this, was I know at Helen Arnold, one of the things I want to do is we know that kids from the Edgewood community walk, they cross at the spot, not where the crosswalk is at. It's the place that's convenient. It's a place that they're going to want to go, but it's across Vernon, which is a very wide street. And one of the things I'm hoping we can do is do an experimental road diet with construction barrels and a crossing so that they can, try it and we'll see how it goes. And maybe that's one of the construction things that we can do down the road. So anyways, that's an example.
Thank you.
Yeah, when you do the diet, you'll talk to the community though.
I've learned...
Because we did a diet up on Copley Road and it made me want to go on a binge.
That's why I stress community engagement here. I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson on Copley Road. And I really feel that because it's also an equity issue, that the collaboration really needs to be there from the beginning. And I will say for that, we've had good safety results with it. We've seen, the intent from the beginning was to get cars to slow down, reduce accidents, and that kind of an intervention does. We do need to do the job of education, which is another aspect of this. This is more of a holistic program. Education, encouragement, engineering, enforcement. And then evaluation, we kind of like keep looking at it, make sure that it's going the way we want it to go, and we're responsive to the community.
Do you work in conjunction with the crossing guards that are employed by the city?
Sergeant Jeff Schaefer is the Akron Police Department officer that's assigned. He oversees all of them. We actually, one of the aspects of our study is we did a survey with all the crossing guards to get their feedback, and that is actually part of the input that we got of things that we need. It's also something that we're going to be looking at. Is there any way we can enhance that to help? They're kind of like the lifeguards out there right now, to be honest.
Questions or comments?
Do we have a resolution?
It's in our consent. It's in consent. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it,
Thank you.
Mr. Davis. All right, so I know the rest of you have other things to do as well, so now is a good time, Mr. Harrington. Give everyone a chance to
Yeah.
They were going to start sneaking in. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, all
right.
right. Next on our agenda is the approval of our meeting minutes from November 13th.
So move.
Moved and properly seconded. Any questions or comments about that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Sims?
Yes.
Reverend Walker? Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardi?
I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Superintendent.
Madam President, I have before me for your consideration 48 personnel recommendations. These recommendations are in proper form and I move their approval.
So move. Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any questions or comments about personnel?
Just item 4, recession of the limited supplemental contract for the basketball coach at Brookton. What is that?
Rescission of basketball contract number 4.
I believe the person did not take over that contract. They ended up being assigned to another coach.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, abstaining from 43 and 44.
Mrs. Sims?
Yes, abstaining 45, 46.
Reverend Walker?
Yes, abstaining from items 47 and 48.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes, abstain from 37 to 38.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes, abstaining from 39 and 40.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes, abstaining from 18, 41, and 42.
Before moving on, Madam President, I would just like to point out under item number 1, we received notification that Kathy Keel, who is our transportation coordinator, is going to be retiring effective April 30th of 2015. She will be difficult to replace, as she's been here quite some time, but
How long has she been here, Deb?
15 years.
Okay. If I was going to mention that, thank you, Mr. Superintendent. If you've ever been in Deb's office anytime between the hours of 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock and listened to the calls come in from transportation, or been there in the morning when everything's settling back down, there's no way you can't appreciate Kathy and all the work that she's put in. So we thank her and all the others that are retired, but she definitely will be very hard to replace. Thank you.
Next, Madam President, I have before me for your consideration 5 motions and 9 resolutions on the consent agenda. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Questions about consent? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Sims?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
And finally, Madam President, I have before me for your consideration 6 business affairs recommendations. These recommendations are in proper form, and I move their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any questions about business affairs?
I won't answer that one. Item, just item 4. Like the cost went up almost 4 times as much, 3 times as much at least. And the other question to that was, is that recycled material?
All right, first of all, it went up because there's a whole nother room to do. And this is something that is required to do under imaging. So Karen, would you like to address what you found when you were cleaning out your items?
Not necessarily cleaning out. We actually have 44 file cabinets that contain active and semi-active files. And we have timelines on how long we have to keep these records. And we need the space. And we have no additional space here. There's no additional space at I. And it really has, besides our requirement to scan these records, it's become a hazard in the location. We're just out of space. And we have tried on our own to scan these, but due to the massive volume, and it continues because we continue to get test protocols, it's impossible. So there's nowhere to go. So we have to do this in a one-time swoop. We've been working on this on our own, trying to scan these and keep up for about 7 years. And it's just an impossibility. And so we just decided, let's go ahead and be done with it. And it won't be a hazardous, I'm not kidding. If you've ever been in the records room, put 44 cabinets that are full in a room that's not even nearly this size.
The other thing, by doing this electronic scanning, should the building burn down? We actually have.
Oh yeah, I was looking at the volume. One was just special ed at one time. Then you added another, looks like another department. Then it went up 4 times. So I was like, is that the amount? Is that the volume of the amount of paper? Well, now that she says it's 44 cabinets, that kind of make it.
Well, and this is the same company that's also helping us put together the Laserfish student records that we have been working on and training our staff on how to make those electronic records at the elementary and now pursuing to do at the secondary level. So this is really a wonderful way to get these records electronic, and it allows us to have permanent records in what I would call small files, but it has everything that we need.
And they recycle the material too?
Yes, they do. They actually have a way of recycling it and destroying it that is proper the way they're supposed to.
Thank you.
Question?
One last one. Item 1 on the HP Pro books and the HP Elite books. Now I see the carts, the education carts for Brooklyn, Ella, Kenmore, and North. The purchases equipment, are these also for these 4 schools too?
All right, the 105 Pro books that come with those particular items in the first one are part of Career Ed's request. The 58 computers are part of Career Ed's request. The Elite books and the Pro books, the 38 and 15 are for district-wide stock that I need at the warehouse to allow those to go out. And the 4 HP cards are designated for those units at those schools under Career Ed. So it's a variety of different things, but it's a combination of both regular ed and Career Ed stuff that we need to do. Okay? So some are staff computers that will go to staff, and some are student computers, most of which are student at this time. Okay?
Can I, just for, because I see words and things, I'm not quite.
Okay.
Elite book, Pro book.
Okay.
I've seen Chrome before. What?
All right. And they're all different styles of a laptop computer. The ProBook 645 is the least one that we use. and it normally is used, meaning it's the unit that is the least expensive, that meets our requirements, and those tend to be at the STEM middle school. The elite books, 850s, are the ones that are used by the STEM high school for their components of their education. And I have done both in stock because obviously I have to give both to each school. The Z230s are computers that are used in the career ed programs. They meet the specifications for the career ed programming, say for auto mechanics, those type of events. In the 30-unit notebooks that are going also for career ed and other school locations are for the use of the students in the classrooms and will be available for online testing.
And what's Chrome?
The Chromebooks are smaller units. They're similar to a notebook, but there's only certain things that Chromes can do. Notebooks have a larger capacity and can also go ahead and have larger memory. They access more. HPs access all of our units. As an example, the one assigned to me has to be able to access all of our strategies for education, as well as Munis, as well as student files and things like that. So it depends on what the destination use is as to what type we buy and what is needed. When we originally started these many years ago, they were units that, and I'm sorry, I'm old enough to tell you computers used to have a 64 bit. We're up to 4 gig on some of these units just because of the software and stuff that we use for the educational process. Okay.
So the Chromebooks are the ones we're using in after-school programs?
We use some Chromebooks at after-school programs. We also use those for testing. But the Akron after-school ones are actually the ones that were originally donated by LeBron James. And those are more of a personal unit component. They are not the type of unit that we would personally buy, but that's what he bought at the time. They have more of a home-based software on them, and we've had to adjust them compared to what we would buy for educational purposes. But they're still useful.
And so the 217 copies of the Microsoft on item 66,
Those are the license you have to buy in order for the Microsoft.
So that goes with the...
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So the next time he donates $1 million computers, someone here will instruct him what best
Yes,
will
we
fit.
would make that offer should we be
Offer
asked.
to them. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Anything else?
Just putting that out there so
Yeah, no, I get it.
he can
It's okay.
feel ready whenever he's ready.
So we typically get 3 years of insurance on each one of the pieces. Thank you for standing again.
It's good exercise. Yes, we typically do get 3 years accidental insurance. And it's accidental damage. Now what this means is, just say I opened up a brand new box and I dropped it on the floor and I cracked the screen. To just replace the screen alone could be $800 on a $1,000 unit, as an example. And some of them are that expensive. But for the cost of $18.34 per year, because the 3-year damage is $55, I can either send the unit and have them send me a screen, or I get a brand new unit and it doesn't cost me any more than that. So it is a very effective, good business practice for the amount of time. So as we went to one-on-one laptop component learning at STEM Middle, STEM High, and Bookville, remember I have 7,700 laptops throughout the district that I need to make sure that I take care of, and they would like them to last at least the 4 years that the student, is at those particular learning environments. And believe me, if you thought kids could do anything or staff could do anything to a personal unit that they have, we have missing keys, we have hard drives that will crash, we have the inability of the battery to stay attached or the cabinet to stay attached. So we get well worth the accidental damage.
So it's $18 per computer.
Unit. It's $18.34 per unit per year. Because you pay $55 for the 3-year extra cost. All right? So as an example, on this purchase tonight, if we did not do the accidental damage, instead of $191,000, we would still be spending $182,000 and have no way to necessarily easily fix these units in a timely manner. Okay? Is that helpful?
I'll just add, that was the abbreviated version of the email that Deborah sent me on the very same question. So if you're interested, I could.
Could you forward that to me? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I think we're at roll call, please. Okay.
Reverend Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Bravo.
Yes.
Mr. Lombardi.
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mrs. Sims.
Yes.
Second.
First of that,
Yeah.
okay.
On
Better
that
find it.
lease agreement that we approved, section 33, I think it might supposed to be, say, compensation, not condemnation, just for your...
I don't know, they give it $1 maybe.
I'm not sure. I scribbled a note and I forgot to say something about it.
Madam President, just a couple
Where
of
is that
items. One, as many of you were at the OSBA conference and you heard a lot about, I think, some uncertainty in terms of state testing with a couple of, I don't know, there's a couple of bills in Columbus that are being considered. And then, of course, this year was supposed to be the year that we, launch into online testing. Unfortunately, with all of the uncertainty out there, plus, I think a lack of clarity from the department in terms of what the exact test is going to look like. We have gotten some sample tests, but they don't have all the features that are supposed to be in the full test. Dr. McWilliams and her folks met, reviewed it, and gave me a recommendation that we not do full online testing this year. We may do some pilots, but there is just a lot that we don't know, and we're not getting all the information we need. And let's see, within 5 or 6 weeks, we would have to, we'd have to be testing, and 4 or 5 days. We just don't have any confidence that we're going to be ready, not because we're not technologically ready, as you've seen we are, but the issue is just the process and the procedures. We're not, you have to, imagine when those tests were paper, our duplicating department would be printing out the tests, preparing the packets, getting them organized, and sending them to school. Now I have no idea whether that information from the state's going to come out a day before we test or a week before we test, and we have no confidence that we're going to get that. So for now, we want to administer paper versions of those tests, and then we may select 2 schools or maybe several schools that will try and do the electronic versions of those tests. We also learned that just today, the Ohio Department of Education just put their parent website live on information for parents regarding testing. I don't even think we've even had a chance to review that yet. So if there's any pertinent questions, feel free to ask myself or Dr. McWilliams.
So with all the improvements we've made technologically, then we're...
Yes, we would be. I think we're fine for, that because of all the, the things like the Chromebook carts that we put in last year, the upgrades that we've done to our buildings. But we're not getting the information regarding the specific tests, and then knowing whether all those tests are still going to be given depending on the legislation that's going through this lame duck session in Columbus.
Do they have ways to test, I'm assuming that test our technology, that if we put everybody on online testing, that our system could handle it?
We've actually done the MAPS testing, which is similar to the park testing, and we have been very successful. We learned in September of last year, we did it again, in December, and we had some in the spring. We've also used the MAP testing for online testing, for the 3rd grade reading guarantee. So as we have gone ahead, and I'll give you an example, we're still working on some wireless access just to make it much more easier to go from building to building. Those are moving in, at say 400, because believe it or not, one floor is wireless and the other one is not. So we're in the process of putting that together. Because 400 at one time was the STEM middle school's first year before they went into their new building, but the other floor didn't get done. So we're still tweaking that, but no, we've been quite successful in going through the MAPS testing. And so I think we're ready and we could do it, but I believe that Dr. McWilliams and her staff feel that we don't want to, you know, go ahead and try to do this if we don't understand the process. Having done the other side where we printed all the tests, getting all these labels for the students, making sure they're in the test, you know, correctly, in the test packet to be delivered to a school, it's a long process. And when you're doing as many students, we want to make sure that we do it and do it correctly. And if the state's not giving you enough time to even put the label, you know, pick together, that's going to be something that's of a concern, because you wouldn't want your son to have a test that isn't with his name and his correct information. These are that vital, okay?
Just a two-part question. I understand completely what we're doing. What is the benefit of even piloting anyone on the online? Because the noted scoring difference between paper and online. The other one was regards to the debate around testing hours. How many? Are we talking about park test and that? We're not talking about quizzes in the classroom.
Right.
We're not talking about that.
the state assessment.
Okay, just the state assessment. So I was gonna say, okay.
Right. Well, I think the one thing is that, you know, if we're gonna go, and Dr. McWilliams can address it better than I can, but I know one thing, if you take, they're not gonna let you take a paper version and then a computer version in the same school year. So we're gonna have to do one or the other. The other important thing is at least have, you know, a school do a pilot on the computerized test, so we get some data up front, so we know the following year, you know, we would have some data in order to more effectively implement it and not go in completely cold. And I know if Dr. McWilliams has something to add, please feel free to save me now. But, you know, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, with our, you know, with our instructors and then just all the noise that's coming out of Columbus about testing, no one really knows what it's going to finally look like. And we're getting close to our window when we have to test.
I guess that was the question about why would we even go, why won't we just let everybody just do paper? If we feel kind of like.
We piloted with some of the field testing in the spring, and you do learn a great deal just going through that process and understanding what type of infrastructure we'll have to have, supporting teachers as they're logging kids in. So that's why we'd like to have a building or two step up and say that they would be willing. And it can even be a grade level or a subject within a building. So it can be, we were thinking possibly some of our one-to-one laptop schools where kids have already been fully online, that they may be willing, just so we can see it in action again one more time before we go live for the whole district next year. But David, you know, he's right on in terms of the legislative changes and all, building an infrastructure for 4.5 to almost 8 hours of testing per subject that is required now, when there's a high potential that that'll be reduced down to 4 hours next year. And building that this year when that's going to change for next year doesn't seem like that's an appropriate step to take for our children, especially when testing now is a 20-day window. So to get all of the subjects in for 20 days and use all the technology that we have in the buildings and kind of dedicate it for 20 days to meet this high requirement that we have this year with so many hours of testing. That technology is coming from someplace. It's coming from children's day-to-day instruction. We now have integrated technology across this district where teachers are doing amazing things with technology every day in the classroom. But to test for 20 days in February and then 20 days in May, we're going to have to pull that technology to dedicate for students to test with this current demand, which means all of the intervention math labs that we have where kids, some of that is going to have to be cut. And I can't do that to kids knowing that next year it's going to change and it's going to reduce. So that's why my team, we had a very resound recommendation to the superintendent to wait one more year. Any other questions?
Very good.
No, look.
Okay. So, okay, last time I asked, so why would we pilot?
Okay, so the pilot.
It seems like it makes more sense if everybody did paper. So even if we're gonna drill down that small to just do a classroom, I don't know how that the data that you would collect would be sufficient enough to make any
just the experience, and it's not necessarily the student data. The student data will be important, but we could look at other districts. It's the whole setup, the structure of doing an online assessment. How long does it really take? How difficult is it to have the setup where you have to register kids and you have to start a testing session, then you have to end the session? What happens if a student needs to go to the bathroom in the middle of testing? How do you suspend that test? There's all sorts of accommodations online that students can access and accessibility options that are available for all general ed kids. We haven't seen any of that yet. That's one of the reasons why I don't like moving forward with an online test this year, because the manual just came out a week and a half ago listing all these accommodations and accessibility features. If we have some of our students testing, we can actually watch that live and we can see what does that look like and how do we train the rest of our students and staff on that. So we can learn a tremendous amount.
And the last thing is probably not the next board meeting, but maybe the first one after the break. I'll have some, as we've looked at our facility project, I'll have some recommendations on the last clusters, primarily high schools, and how, at least some initial ideas on how we can accomplish those. So, look for some correspondence from me, in the intervening period, but, from the update I gave before, we'll have some, I think, concrete recommendations in terms of how future segments, might look in terms of the clusters and the balance of schools that need to be done.
And then you'll also give us some idea about the elementary schools that we had talked about before.
Yes, right.
What the schedule is planned for that,
Yes.
for those communities that are going to be involved.
And I did attend a Ward 8 meeting after Marilyn Keith twisted my arm. No, to give them an update on, they wanted to know the status of Litchfield and Firestone and also of Case. So I gave them an update there. And, we're going to be starting our first community planning meeting December 16th and 18th. So we'll get those underway. So everyone, was very happy and, about the project progress at Litchfield and Firestone and the opportunity to get started on Case.
Mr. Flesher, can you send the board an email reminding us?
We were just trying to get the detail with the school to make sure the space and so forth. We should get that out there this week.
That'd be great, thank you.
And I don't know if we want to belabor what you said about Case. So I don't know if I need to say anything more about Case. We finalize where we're going with that, or we need to talk about that.
I don't think so. There's case is case. I don't know where else is Case going to go. And I think everyone in that particular meeting, or people who are pretty involved in the cluster, I think they see that future there as well.
Okay. All right.
What was the date and time of that meeting?
We'll get it out there.
Yeah, the notification, we just got the final draft of it today, so it's those.
It'll be Case on 16th and Ellen on the 18th.
Okay.
But it'll generally be a community meeting, be around
6 or 6:30. One of those. We'll get those sent out because like I said, because the school designed their own, with all the color stuff in it. So we'll get it out to board members.
Okay. All right. As far as the president's report tonight, I did want to remind the board that the end of the year is coming. I would like you to give some thought to your cluster assignments, give some thought to board leadership, give some thought to your committee assignments. Do you love it? Are you done with this one? Are you, have you learned everything there is to know about your cluster? Do you just, you're not quite there? Start letting Mr. Alexander and I know where you stand on those things. We'd really love to know that here coming up. So please, the holidays get a hold of us, and next thing we know, it's January. So please be in touch with us either by phone or email or both. I'd just as soon talk to y'all on the phone. I kind of like you also. It wouldn't be so bad. So please start thinking about that. The other is, we talked briefly in scrimmage today a little bit about snow days, and I'm going to count on Ms. Folk to back me up here because I know she can. Akron Public Schools is still on snow days. So until the extent of the contract that we have with our bargaining unit, we are on snow days. So that would be for at least the next 2 years, 3 years.
Through June 30th to 16th.
Okay. So we are not switching to hours at this point, and so as the wind howls and cracks our 100-year-old building downstairs, it's just something to think about, and the superintendent's going to weigh in.
Yeah, I have a meeting with staff, and so because there has been some confusion out there about whether districts are on days or hours. We exceed the number of hours that are required, and Dr. Williams and I were talking today about if we went to the minimum number of hours, that would cut a lot of days out of our school calendar, and I think there are days that, our students really do need. So because of some of that, some of the issues that are out there regarding that, we already have seen, like the BASA group and OSBA, their reports are, if you had a labor agreement that was in place before the effective date of changes to hours, you are still on days. And so we're going to be conferring with the Ohio Department of Education, and primarily for us, it's more of a forward-looking thing going into next year to be much ahead of that, whole issue. I'll say it right now, I would not be in favor of lowering the number of days to equal the minimum hours, because I just think it's too short of a period of time. I think they went to the hours knowing most of the districts were going to stay where they're at, because that gives them flexibility on not only snow days, but also professional development days, that we really do need to increase the amount of professional development that we offer in the district. So we're going to try and wrap all that stuff into one conversation, confer with some of our folks with ODE, with OSBA and BASA to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then you'll probably see, maybe some recommendations as you all look at, our district calendar, and I work with the assistant superintendent on setting up our calendar for the future year.
So you're probably going to get questions as the weather's changing. We've been fortunate so far that we don't live to the west side of the lake, but it's, we all know it's only a matter of time, and maybe we'll get off easy this year with not a really hard winter.
So basically, we couldn't have any movement till 16 anyway.
Right. Unless we renegotiated something, but there's not a plan for that right now. So snow days it is, for now. And that is all I have. How about you, Mr. Pendleton?
No report.
All right. Committee reports, I see we have legal. Do you want to start that off?
Yes, I will start. I have, for the second of 3 readings, policy 8660, which is revised incidental transportation of students by private vehicle, and administrative guideline, not American guideline, administrative guideline 8660 revised, which is transporting students incidentally by private vehicle. That's the second of 3 readings.
Okay, and for the first of 3 readings prior to approval, I have the following. Policy 5336, which is a new policy for care of students with diabetes. Form 5336F1, which again is a new policy. Written notification to school employees regarding training to provide diabetes care to students. Policy 8500, which is a revised policy regarding food services. Administrative Guideline 8500, which is a new policy for food and beverage sales. Administrative Guideline 8500A, which again is a new policy for nutritional guidelines. Policy 8510, which is a revised policy as to wellness. Policy 8540, which is a revised policy as to vending machines. And Policy 8550, which is a revised policy for competitive food sales. And that is the first of 3 readings prior to approval.
Thank you very much. Anything from finance? Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, briefly, we had Finance Committee meeting last week, our first one with our new treasurer, and to abbreviate what we discussed, the main thing we're looking at right now, and we'll be discussing with the board, is some tweaks to our investment policy. So just be on the lookout for that as we move forward in that. And we had a discussion about looking at different options for the financial dashboard that we think we want to create for board's benefit and for the community in general, to just make it easier to digest our finances and financial statements, put it more in layman's terms, if you will. So with that, also the report we'd like to give each meeting on donations, rather lengthy list here, so I'm going to abbreviate this as well. We had several donations to Project Rise, St. Joseph's School donated, University of Akron Association for Educating Young Children, the Now program at Sam Salem, Jennifer Kafka, Choreographer's Workshop, Polar Express Charity Run with a donation to Project Rise, Mickey Ivanov, Chuck Bell, Robin Kirk, Paul and Sharon Connor, Joseph Marcius DDS, Pastoral Counseling Service, City of Akron, Sterling Jewelers, all made donations of various sizes and things to Project Rise here recently. We had a donation from Akron Women's City Club to Portage Path CLC, as well as from the West Akron Kiwanis Club. We had a donation from Bobby Briggs to East CLC, as well as a donation from Timothy Zalinia, sorry Timothy, for that butcher of your name, and then several donations from Jenny Selleck from AECOM Company to career education at various high schools and to the STEM high school as well. So thank you for those donations.
Great. Thank you for reading those off. Anything from instructional policy and student achievement?
I mean, not to say anything, just to reiterate.
Not to say anything, but.
Not to say anything to override what's already been said, but to say that we are really proud of the honor that was received by our staff around STEM learning. You know, I was at a community presentation as a part of Leadership Akron. And just to talk about how proud we are of the school, of our school system overall. There was a parent who had brought her children back from a charter school. And so it was a conversation about poverty. And so they were asking the parent about what she thought about Akron Public Schools. And she went on to say that she had nothing bad to say about Akron Public Schools. She was coming back from charter schools, and it was, and she said so many wonderful things, although she was looking for some additional supports for her kids as far as tutoring was concerned. But to hear that, because you hear all these bad things, but there's so much good going on, just so much good going on. But I was over at Mickey Bright. I know I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I just wanted to say, I think people really don't understand. I really started to really understand the whole piece around value added. When you look at some of our children who have even some of the kids that are coming back from charter school, it's almost like you're doing, for lack of a better term, kind of reworking the whole process over again, trying to give them up to speed and all that. But our kids are experiencing a growth in their learning that's like 2 years growth. I mean, I mean, you can't really, if you already come in way behind the game, and then to make a 2-year gain, that is just amazing. when I was over at Mickey Bright, you should have seen the kids. I mean, they were happy to be there. I mean, I wanted a Chromebook and I wanted to sit around. I wanted to win some prizes too. But it was just the excitement. Some of them was just laid back in their chair like this on the Chrome, but they were fully engaged, and it was just, it's everything that is not really being conveyed to the public about what's going on in our public schools, and the work that our teachers really put in, day out, to make sure that our kids get the best. So I needed to say that, because I needed to say that, and I thank you. Is it Thomas Edison or Thomas Edwards? Edison. That's okay. So, see, I had one of those go off just now. Yeah, I was gonna see. Okay. Thank you, and thank you for being on my team most of the time, Reverend Walker.
Most of the time.
Right.
But I just also want to say, because many times we don't say a lot, but Dr. McWilliams is always in conversation with Sister Sims and I. In fact, we've had a conversation just before this meeting about many of the things that she shared, and it has given me a tremendous amount of insight. I still don't know what the part assessment is. I'll get that some kind of way, because I got the other things squared in my mind, but I just can't figure out exactly what that is. But we're moving, and I think that has really helped this board tremendously. I know it's helped me, and I want to thank you for that, and your staff, and of course the superintendent. I was looking forward to us rolling out, get everything online, to be the best Akron. I want to show folks that we could do it. And we've got all the mechanism, we got all the equipment, but I don't want to do it with all these, not our fault. Because I asked the question, why can't they just change the testing? I mean, if they're causing all this kind of headache, why is February a due date for everybody? But, you know, I'm just a member of Akron School Board. And somebody else is making those kind of decisions somewhere, and we've got to go with the flow. But when we go, we want to be ready for our children to do the best that they possibly can.
Not only do we go to Dr. Ellie McWilliams to be instructed on things that are going on, you know, we just sit there and watch her, you know, always kind of do this kind of stuff. And so we just really go to the meeting so that we can really get what she's saying.
All right. Very good. Well, I will just reiterate that, and just say this for a fact. If you're on senior staff and you didn't have to talk to me this week, you should be glad, because those of you who I did, thank you very much. Because like you said, they are responsive and wonderful, and answer the phone calls and answer questions until we're done. So it's wonderful to be able to have that. So those of you who I didn't have to call, just look out, because I'm not going to hesitate to call you now. Any unfinished business or new business? All right. We do have need for executive session. So pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G1, I ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of considering employment of an employee or official of the school district.
Second.
Moved to properly seconded. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Bravo?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Mansfield?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Sims?
Yes.
Reverend Walker?
Yes.